Wamunyoro was yesterday a busy place in the mountain. Kalonzo Musyoka and other dignitaries were welcomed by former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. So I just want to take a look at the political realignments that we are experiencing currently in the country. Just to mention that the late MP was my member of parliament back in Kasipul. Somebody I know in person, Vivian. I was a friend of the family in the past when we had issues as a family. He was part and parcel of us on a personal level. So,
sorry about that loss.
Right.
Sorry about that loss.
So that is what's happening. The DCI says that they are leaving no stone unturned to unravel what really happened. Good morning.
Good morning, Victor.
Good to see you. All right?
Good to see you too. I hope you had a lovely weekend.
Yes, I did.
All right. A very good morning to each and every one of you who is tuning in this beautiful Monday morning. It's actually the first Monday of the month of May. As usual, thank you for choosing to start off your day with us. Now, today being a Monday, it's going to be a busy one right here on Good Morning Kenya, and busy in terms of the topics that we will be tackling. And one of them is the state of board diversity, inclusion and equity. And we are going to be talking about that with one Dr. Mureithi Ndegwa, who is the Executive Director and CEO of the Kenya Institute of Management. He will be here just to talk about that. There was a report that was recently concluded, so we'll be getting more into that. It shows that lesser women are actually in boards when in Kenya, and the number is actually going down. So we will be looking at diversity, equity and inclusion in Kenya when it comes to leadership in general. You definitely want to stay tuned for that. And then when we're done with that conversation at exactly around 9 a.m., we'll be having a conversation on Family Check. And this time round, we are asking you, when in a relationship, is it a must to be chat, or for you to chat each and every day? Is it compulsory that you have to talk to your boyfriend or girlfriend or significant other every single day? That is the question we are asking you on Family Check. And joining us for that will be one engineer, Ruben Juma Onunga, who is the team lead COWI Kenya. We'll also be having Nelly Mutai, who is a multimedia creative as well as an actress. And we'll also have in studio with us Veronica Katunge, who's a speaker and gospel minister. You definitely want to stay tuned for that conversation. Marie, good morning.
A very good morning to you, Vivian, and to all of you joining us here in Nairobi and across the country. My name is Marie Yambo, and definitely I'll be bringing you to speed with what is happening as far as the news is concerned. On the news this morning is that President William Ruto reaffirms his commitment to a broad-based government, promising inclusive leadership for national benefit. And 4 suspects arrested in connection with the murder of Kasipul MP Charles Ongondo Were. And in Kirinyaga, celebrations erupt as a 75-year-old man returns home after being behind bars. I'll bring you details of that, including sports, in this particular bulletin. But before that, Victor, pole sana. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite a sad moment, if I may put it that way, that people would resort to, those kind of actions if you have differences with someone. I know that's the ideal way of dealing with issues. Yeah. But realistically, that's not what people do. But it's sad, because when that happens, you actually plunge the whole constituency into disarray, because leadership again now is missing. By the time things are getting back to normal, how many things are lagging behind and all that. But just even to the family, it's really, really sad. But pole sana, Victor, and to the family and friends. Yes, and the police are promising to really get to the bottom of what happened. Yes. So let's get on with the news, where President William Ruto has again promised to support a united government through the broad-based arrangement. He says he wants to lead a fair and just administration. This comes as some leaders showed disagreement with the political deal between his party, the UDA, and the opposition party, ODM. Reporting from Migori, Wycliffe Okech says the president also warned that this new system is not meant for past struggles, but for working together to help the whole country grow.
President William Ruto on Sunday began his 3-day working tour of Migori County with an interdenominational prayer service at Kadika Primary School in Suna East constituency. It was here that the head of state reassured the nation of his commitment to running an inclusive administration through the broad-based arrangement.
Kenya hii haihitaji migawanyiko, haihitaji ukabila, haihitaji chuki. Ni tuwaunganishe wananchi wa Kenya, na Mungu ametupatia nafasi ya kipekee katika serikali hii ya broad based, serikali ya mapana na marefu, ya kuhakikisha ya kwamba hakuna sehemu ya Kenya inawachwa nyuma, na tumekubaliana ya kwamba mambo ya maendeleo ni haki ya kila sehemu ya Kenya.
And amid a growing revolt from a section of the ODM faction, which is party to the broad-based system of governance, President Ruto challenged leaders across the political divide to avoid antagonism and instead champion leadership of cooperation.
Vile tulikubaliana na Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga, we must work together. We must hold hands together. And I want to give you my assurance as the party leader of UDA and the leader of Kenya Kwanza, that the commitment we made to ODM to work together is not going to be a working together to compete against one another. We are going to collaborate, we are going to partner, we are going to work together.
Area leaders accompanying the president reiterated their support for an inclusive administration.
And those people, sometimes who go overboard, I will remind them, one of the MOU conditions, there was nothing like abusing government or president. Those who are annoyed, who think that this world-based government is not right, they are actually vomiting on us from within. Why don't they get out and vomit from us without?
The leaders who are here must fight the fight of economic equality, economic justice in this country. Tuwache kuvurutana kando kando, tuwapende hao wananchi ambayo wametuheshimu, wametupatia nafasi kwa kiongozi. Tuvute pamoja, tutafute rais aje hapa mara mingi na tuendelee na hiyo formula.
Ruto's bag of goodies for Migori included plans to expand and upgrade to bitumen standard key roads, besides construction of at least 2,000 affordable housing units in Kehancha, Kuria West. From Migori County, I am Wycliffe Okech.
Now, 3 individuals have been arrested in Kuria West in Migori County over an incident where a shoe was thrown at President William Ruto while he was addressing residents. Preliminary investigations indicate the Sunday evening incident may have been politically motivated. Authorities are pursuing crucial leads that could see more suspects apprehended. And police have arrested 4 people in connection with the fatal shooting of Kasipul member of National Assembly Charles Ongondo Were. According to the National Police Service, the arrest resulted from an operation that positively placed the suspects at the crime scene. This comes as the head of state gave an assurance that the killers of the lawmaker would be brought to book.
The murder of Kasipul member of parliament Charles Were has stirred political tension in South Nyanza, with local leaders, especially from Homa Bay County, home to the late lawmaker's constituency, citing political assassination and piling pressure on the government to hasten action on the culprits.
Don't take lives of our people because of a political seat. Ndiwa constituency is another one, where people are just cutting each other with pangas in the name of politicians.
The disinformation that has flooded social media, it is not by coincidence. It is well orchestrated, it is well mobilized, it is well funded, it is well run, and the idea is to cover up the murder of Were.
Serikali kwa siku chache tunataka kujua nani amekuwa behind motive ya kuua Ng'ondo Were, ni nani amemuua, kwa sababu gani, na huyo mtu hao watu washikwe na ujiwe ndani mara moja.
And on Sunday, when President William Ruto began his tour of the neighboring Migori County, it did not escape his attention.
Wale waliofanya jambo hilo na kumuua huyo mjumbe, we will get them. They will not succeed. They will have nowhere to hide. We will go after them. And we will go after their collaborators. Mpaka tuhakikisha kwamba kitendo kama hicho hakifanyiki tena katika taifa letu la Kenya.
We have fairly had a very secure country, but from time to time we continue to have security challenges. And in this region, the biggest challenge is more of issues to do with political intolerance. And I want to appreciate the church for speaking to some of those issues.
Interior Principal Secretary Raymond Omolo also called for calm to allow police to conclude investigation.
And I would want to plead for caution on the part of leaders so that we do not have reckless talks that might jeopardize that, because we want everyone who is involved in criminal activities to be held accountable.
And in a statement, the National Police Service stated that 4 people had already been arrested in connection with Were's murder. In the statement, NPS says officers from the National Police Service swiftly conducted an operation and successfully arrested 4 suspects who had been positively placed at the crime scene. Investigators have also recovered crucial evidence linked to the crime as well as to the perpetrators. End of quote. Police have linked some of the suspects arrested to organized criminal gangs such as Mujahideen, which has been linked to armed robberies in Eastlands areas of Nairobi. Police have at the same time urged individuals to refrain from making comments that could interfere with the investigation. Information that could assist the investigation can be channeled to the nearest police station or toll-free lines 999 112 or hashtag Fichua kwa DCI.
Kamcha Menza reporting there. Now, Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, Musalia Mudavadi, has urged the people of Mount Kenya region to unite with fellow Kenyans in fostering national cohesion. He emphasized that the country's prosperity depends on a shared sense of purpose that drives development across all regions.
Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, accompanied by UDA members of parliament from Mount Kenya region, attended a church service at AIPCA in Othaya, Nyeri County, where he appeared to warn the vote-rich Mount Kenya region against supporting the opposition.
Na mimi nataka niwashukuru viongozi wa hapa. You are solid. You are solid. Na nyinyi mkicheza vile Kimani Ichung'wah amemueleza, sisi tunanyemelea. Mkicheza, mkiteleza, mkiwachilia, tutachukua. We will take. Kwani unafikiri namna gani? So a bird in hand is better than 10 in the bush.
Mudavadi challenged the region to solidify their support behind President William Ruto, saying he means well for the region.
Saa hii umeona maendeleo imekuja hapa siku kidogo tu. Kwa hivyo nimwambie mimi nitaendelea kushikana na serikali na itaendelea kuungana na serikali yetu ili inalete maendeleo hapa Othaya.
Sisi ndio tulichagua serikali na William Samoei Ruto ametupatia chochote ambacho tulikuwa tunataka kwa serikali. Kwa hivyo hii serikali ni yetu. Wewe unaweza toka kwa nyumba yako uachie mtu mwingine? Si nyumba ni yako? Unaweza potea uachie mtu mwingine? Sisi kama jamii ya Mount Kenya, hii serikali ni yetu na tutakaa kwa serikali yetu na tutashikilia na tuombee serikali yetu, kwa sababu huu ni wakati wa kufanya kazi, sio wakati wa siasa.
Meanwhile, a section of church leaders and business leaders in Narok County has cautioned politicians against propagating tribal politics, terming it a threat to national cohesion.
Ombi langu kwa Wakenya wote, especially viongozi wetu, neno la Mungu linasema there is power in any spoken word. Katika hali ya kunena neno kuna nguvu. Kwa hivyo ombi langu ni kwamba watu wasiongee matamshi ambayo yatalete mtafaruku katika umoja wetu.
Wachunge sana mdomo, wasiongee mambo itakuja kuleta furugo na tamaa vitu za nchi. Unataka shamba, mwingine anataka hii, anataka hii.
The opinion shapers led by Reverend Alex Jugona of the Kenya Assembly of God regretted that some politicians have been fanning divisions along tribal lines ahead of 2027 general elections.
Tungependa kuhimiza serikali ni kwamba tunaomba heshima kwa viongozi wa hii nchi yetu, kwa sababu wakiweka heshima nchi itasonga mbele.
Away from politics, and there was joy and celebration on Saturday evening in Kiaga Village, Kirinyaga Central, as 75-year-old Peter Kimani Mbote returned home after serving a 15-year sentence at Ruiru Prison. He is one of the 57 inmates released after President William Ruto granted clemency.
A hero's welcome awaited Peter Kimani Mbote in his home village, ending a painful chapter that began in 2016. Kimani had been convicted of defilement following an accusation by a neighbor, a charge he has always maintained was false.
Kaulizwa hata Eldimani alikuwa hapa. Akasema walikuwa rafiki na nani na kijana walikuwa nasoma naye huko secondary Kiaga. Sijui ilipindukaje ikawa ni mimi. Lakini yote ni ya Mungu, kwa sababu waliona vizuri nienda nikafungwa na nikaenda nikafungwa tu vile Mungu alikuwa anapanga.
Tulikuwa tunasema atakufia huko kwa jela, lakini Mungu akatenda jambo kubwa sana katika familia na katika mboma hii na katika area hii.
Kimani had served 9 years behind bars after he was sentenced for 15 years. He was among 56 Kenyans and 1 foreigner granted clemency by President William Ruto in line with Article 133 of the Kenyan Constitution. Jen Wanjiru, Kimani's sister, narrates the family's struggle to find justice for her brother.
Nilikuwa nasukumana na hiyo kesi nikijua ya kwamba mtoto huyu atafanyiwa DNA ili ukweli upatikane ati ni wa ndugu yangu, lakini hakupatikana.
Kimani's return was not only emotional but historic. His elderly mother, 106-year-old Margaret Muthoni Mbote, never gave up hope of one day seeing her son. Kimani's wife, Wangethi, says the family had waited for his return with prayer and patience.
Tukasema ni asanti ni Bwana kukunja kuliko tulikuwa na maombi na Mungu akatusaidia.
Celebrations here in Kiaga Village are far from over. For Kimani's family, his release symbolizes hope, forgiveness, and the enduring strength of family.
Nimewasamehe kwa sababu hata niko na Bible, kwa sababu nimesoma zaidi. Na huyo my comrade nitampatia moja, na hiyo nilimwambia nitampa na alikubali, na niko nayo hapa.
Na hata ndugu yangu nimemhubiri, nikamwambia awasamehe. Watu wetu wa familia nimewaambia awasamehe.
Indeed, what a celebration. A worried family in Tuthu village, Kangema, Murang'a County, is asking for help in finding their 23-year-old son, Eric Joseph Irungu. The cooperative university student went missing on Sunday, April the 13th, and all such efforts have so far failed.
At Tuthu village, Kangema constituency, the family of Eric Joseph Irungu is in agony. This follows his disappearance without a trace 3 weeks ago. A tearful Joyce Wanjiku, Eric's mother, recounts the final conversation she had with her son.
Kuna mtihani alikuwa anafanya hiyo siku na hakufanya.
Joyce says her son had been diligently preparing for his final exams. However, several attempts to reach him shortly after their last conversation proved unsuccessful.
Nilimpigia hiyo saa 3 hakuchukua simu. Nikakaa kidogo kitu saa 4 pia nikapiga hakuchukua simu. Nikalala nikaamkia hii siku yenye ilifuata ilikuwa Jumatatu. Ni hiyo siku yote nilishida nikipiga simu na haikuchukuliwa.
Concerned, the family initiated a search by dispatching some relatives to trace him. Their inquiries at the university confirmed their worst fears.
Tulimpigia simu tukamkosa, tukatuma watu Nairobi wamemkosa hata mahali anakaa, na sasa tukafika mwisho.
This revelation immediately prompted the family to file a missing person report and later embarked on a search to uncover any leads on his whereabouts, all to no avail.
Sisi kama familia Irungu tumemtafuta kwa City Mortuary, tukaenda kwa Kenyatta. Sasa hakuna njia tunaona mwelekeo wa kumpata huko.
The family is now calling on government agencies and well-wishers to help them locate Eric.
Na tunaomba watu serikali na watu wote watusaidie kumtafuta pahali anaweza kuwa.
Meanwhile, the family and community members continue to gather at Eric's rural home for daily prayers with the hope of a reunion with their son. Should anyone spot Eric, you can reach the family through the phone numbers 0711 26 1072 or 0719 82 63 09.
Indeed, do use the given numbers in case you have any information about Eric's whereabouts. Now, a grieving family in Kitui County is pleading with both the national and county governments to help bring back the body of their kin, Caroline Wamboi, who died while working in Riyadh, that is in Saudi Arabia. Authorities there have given them just 3 weeks before disposal of the body.
At the home of late Caroline Wambui, a fundraiser is ongoing. This is a bid to raise 1.5 million shillings required to bring her body home for burial.
Na tukaambiwa mwisho ni tarehe 6. Tukikosa fedha hatutaletea huyo mwili huku na mwili watazika huko. Kwa hivyo tunauliza mtusaidie kwa haraka ili huo mwili usisiko huko. Watoto wake wasiwe na huzuni.
With the harsh economic times experienced at the moment, the distressed family is now appealing to well-wishers in both levels of government to come to their aid.
Na sisi kama familia atulali kwa sababu huo mwili ukiwa huko, lakini tukiuletea huku tutakuja kushukuru Mungu.
Ni alikuwa ana provide masomo, chakula, nguo, mavazi, kila kitu. Alikuwa ana provide, alafu hatuna msaada.
Kwa hivyo hii familia hakuna chochote kinaweza uzwa ipate hii pesa 1.5 million. Tumejaribu kuchanga na ile pesa tulichanga haikupita around 170,000.
The family can be reached and assisted through M-Pesa number 0740209807. Name Mumo Salim.
To some health matters now, where a family in Mugathika village, that is Rui Ward, Nyandarua County, is seeking help after their 17-year-old son, Gidraf Mogo Kamande, was diagnosed with stage 2 cancer. They're struggling to raise funds for his treatment.
What started as a small, painless pimple on Mugo's scalp gradually grew in size, prompting the family to seek medical help. After consultations at Olkalau JM County Referral and Nyahururu County Referral Hospital, Mugo was referred to Kijabe Mission Hospital, where he has been receiving treatment since June last year.
Tulienda Kijabe, hapo ndio alifanyiwa biopsy na akapatikana ako na cancer, iko stage 2.
His father, Isaac Kamande, says the illness has taken a heavy financial toll on the family.
Buzi nilikuwa nazo 30 nimeuza, imeisha yote, nimebakisha buzi moja, ng'ombe ndio hizo sina.
Pia nastahili hata kukula balanced diet. Chakula kwake imekuwa shinda. Ile hali inampelekea mpaka immunity yake kurudi chini.
Mugo has undergone several surgeries, including the removal of his adrenal artery, which has led to the spread of fluid-filled growths on his head. The illness has also interrupted his studies at Makindu Day Secondary School, where he was set to sit his final exams this year.
Emu yake ilikuwa kuwe daktari. Bado hiyo emu yake bado iko tu na bado hajakufa moyo.
The family is now reaching out to well-wishers for support in Mugo's medical journey, with the total cost of his treatment estimated at approximately 4.7 million Kenyan shillings.
Natakiwa niende hospitali next week na sina chochote.
Nisaidie niweze kupona uvimbe iweze kupona na nirudi shule na niweze kufanya mtihani wa form 4.
Contributions can be channeled to account number 0370000200045 or M-Pesa number 0720797615.
Again, do assist the family as they ask for help. Let's look at sports now, where Gor Mahia closed the gap to just 2 points behind league leaders Kenya Police FC after beating Shabana FC 1-0 at the Gusii Stadium. Sylvester Owino scored the winner in the 80th minute. Meanwhile, Kenya Police defeated Kariobangi Sharks 1-0 with a goal from Marvin Nabwire. Murang'a Seal got their first win of the year, edging out Nairobi City Stars 1-0. Mara Sugar drew 1-1 with Ulinzi Stars.
Jerome Brasunongai. Ishara mikono miwili inaletwa ndani huko, kichwa kile, Sylvester Owino Ahono, super sub kwa mara ya kwanza ndani ya Gusii Stadium, wanafungwa goli Shabana na kuna kuwa na vibe. Aliomba Sylvester Owino Ahono.
On that note, we come to the end of the bulletin this morning. As always, thank you for your company. My name is Maria Mbwen. Definitely stay tuned for more news updates in our subsequent bulletins. Right about now, I want to give room to my colleague Victor Lowe, who will be taking you through the matters politics of the week.
Right now, quickly.
Pick up your phone, Biggie.
No one tells me what to do.
Nani amenigonga? Who's he? Hey! Out of my house.
I'll say this again and again.
Sit down and talk to your husband. Talking to your mother here is not a solution. She's got problems of her own.
I am not stupid. I've done this kind of monkey business before, so I know my time. 4 hours, Biggie. 4 hours. Thank you for the cup of tea, by the way.
At least everyone knows I do business. I keep wondering, what are his dealings?
Kuna shida.
Why will he respond to your WhatsApp messages and not our calls?
Sijamuona.
Huh?
Sijamuona, madam. Hello. Who's this?
Are you a talented artist? Or are you passionate about a topic you want to discuss? But money can be very hard to find for an upcoming artist. Don't worry, Studio Mashinani has got your back. Sign up on ajira.co.ke to book a session with your music and video producers across the country. Work on your music, jingles, spoken words, and even podcasts to realize your dream. All for free. Studio Mashinani, Radani Talent.
Beautiful. Welcome back. All right. So it's 3 minutes by 7 a.m. Good morning. It's a beautiful 5th day of May 2025. Everything today is 555. A beautiful Monday. All right. So on Iron Politics, I want us to take a look at what's happening across the country and, of course, dissect them one by one and make sense of what we can. Of course, I know we will. So in studio, I only have Mark Ndingo, who is a governance expert and a political analyst, already in studio. Mark, good morning. Good morning. You're well?
I'm well.
Karibu sana.
Thank you.
All right, and Wakili George Kitli, who is an advocate of the High Court of the Republic of Kenya, also in studio. Wakili, you're well?
I'm well. Good morning. How are you?
And finally, Danson Mugatana, who is the senator of the great people of Tana River County. Senator, good to see you once again.
Good morning.
You disappeared. Just update us where you are. And how have you been?
I've been well. I think when you see political leaders not so much in Nairobi, it means they are trying to get their ground in readiness, because I think the engines have started cracking.
Yes.
And preparations have started. So we need to get our people ready also for the elections.
Yeah.
So otherwise, it's been well. We have had rains in our place. We thank God for that. Some production has gone on. So at least I'm sure this year we won't have hunger issues.
Yeah.
We are just worried that the rains may be too much and you know, we have flooding. That is if the rains persist for a long time up country. But so far, so good, and we are looking forward to a good harvest.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Talk of politics. Wakili, the political drumbeats are getting louder, as Senator is saying, and we can all see and hear them drumming all the way from the other side of the horizon, beyond the hills. And the drumbeats are becoming louder and louder day by day.
Yeah, there's good reason.
There's good reason.
There's good reason. You see, it had been quieter if there was a reason to be quiet. But there's a reason to be noisy, and it's going to be noisier than this. The political bed laid so far
yes,
has not been laid by the people of Kenya.
Mhm.
It's been laid by those that are in leadership.
What do you mean?
Yeah, I'll explain.
All right.
One is the government is not a good communicator to its people,
Mhm.
and therefore the people are left to second guess the government and its intentions. There have been obviously complaints and a disgruntled public in terms of the policy of government, its affairs, and how it relates to the people, especially if its administration is pro-people. The last year's budget probably highlighted the highest of the decibels, political decibels of our time, or recent times. And that has continued to excite the public into the political environment that has excited the early political reorganization as we see today. I think if, for instance, the former deputy president was not impeached, there wouldn't be the political decibels and realignments we're seeing today. If there had not been the Gen Z protests, then there would not have been the decibels as we see them today, the political decibels, on account of what then would be the political vote base and the voting pattern in the admission into the voters bracket of the Gen Z, because most of them didn't have IDs and haven't voted before. And also the economic factors that inform the disgruntlement of the public and the complaints that were there. Obviously, because of the Gen Zs, the president has had to walk around to gain legitimacy afresh across the country. And obviously that has not gone all the way because it has been met with its own political affairs. So that then the crystallization of all that into a political environment that crystallizes into a political movement where there is the incumbency and there is the cajolement of the incumbency by those that want to get into power, and so on and so forth. So we'll see more of the jingoism, chest thumping, the drumbeat, and the political decibels even heightening even more. Remember that IBC is being put into place now. We're going to have by-elections very soon. And that then reorganizes the country into, some political fiefdoms of, accrediting what will be, reorganization of the political environment. We have seen admission of parts of opposition into government, recreating the political debate again. We have seen some being removed from government into opposition, the Umunyoro movement and so on and so forth. And yes, the political decibels are continuing to climb. We haven't reached the highest because we're not yet there. But like Moshimo has said it, Moshimo Danson, the ground is shifting into a political, reorganization of sorts, and so forth and so.
I'm just trying to imagine. IBC is not yet in place, but the beaters of the drum are already in action. So what if, Mark, IBC is in place, we have got everything in place, and now we have a political field, well paved, and there is a very good turf for people to dance. I'm just imagining how louder it's going to get.
As usual, politics will always be there, and with or without the IBC, the leaders, those in power, those who want to be in power, will always want to play politics. Once a leader or a politician is elected, the first thing he does is to protect his vote base. And once you are also elected, you have people who you are competing with. And the same people will always want to take over from you. So you'll find immediately after elections, people will want to continue doing the elections because there are those who want to continue being the leaders of those areas. And there are those who would want to take over from you. So in our case, in the situation we are today is it's a continuation of what has always been there, because even with the previous years, that was between 2017 and 2022, when the Jubilee government was elected, immediately we saw leaders started campaigning just immediately after the elections. So I think it has been something practiced all over every time we have elections. So I see a situation whereby before 2027, we are going to have high-level election politics, because as Wakila has said, the climax came in 25th June last year when we had the Gen Z revolution. The politics of the day was a bit quiet, but after that incident, I think everybody now is trying to find where he can get some alignment for the future elections. So I think with the coming days, we are going to see more and more of elections within the leadership and those who want to be in the leadership.
Okay. Senator, even as you also comment on that, let me ask you, how short is the political cycle? How short is it between after election and the next? Because there seems to be no rest for the political class. I use that word deliberately. So how short is this time? Because Wanjiku is here, but the other side of the political class, they seem to be like a blink of an eye. After election, then there's another one. How short is it? As a politician, give me a perspective.
I think, let me just say that I'm also the head of delegation for the Pan-African Parliament, which is the Kenya delegation there. And we sit in that African Parliament 3 sessions in a year. And I'll tell you, I was in South Africa when they were having their elections. It was very quiet. And you know that Tanzania is also preparing for elections.
Yes.
It's also very quiet. But Kenya somehow, I don't know, we are like...
what happens
we
to
are
us?
Always,
how special are we?
We are always very, very, very active.
Yes.
Which is a point of a lot of admiration from so many African countries. And it has its backside, I mean its bad side, but it's a point of admiration for many African countries, because when we are there, everybody's talking about Kenya, you know, Kenya this, Kenya that, Kenya that. But it is a good thing, I think, to be vibrant. However, we must also give chance to those in office to perform. And this means over time, after, you know, all these, because I believe that the country is developing. From independence up to now, we've had like almost around 6 decades. And so we are developing as a nation. And we have come to a point where there's a lot of transparency in this country, which is good. But I think we also need to have a thinking about how much time do we need to give to those in office to deliver?
Yes.
And in particular, how much time do we need to give governors in office? Because governors are very key. And the president, because these are the main executive people who are in executive offices. Members of parliament, they are also, to a certain extent, they have some funds which they execute. But the main people are these 2 categories of leaders in government. And I would have Kenyans listening to me reminded that in the US, the Congress, every 2 years, people are elected. So there's never a stop. Every 2 years, you are having elections. And every 2 years, senators, we stay 7 years in the US. Governors, some states, they do 4. Some states, they do even 1 year. But in general, the political space is very active in the US, so that you cannot say this and do this. People are always following what is happening, which I think is good. But I think also we need to balance that by giving chance to the people who are in office to perform. And for me, I keep telling my colleagues that less politics and more work. You don't need to answer to people. You know, I mean, like I'm in office, for example, now. I never engage in, you know, back and forth with people. I have my programs. I know my role is to legislate, to oversight, and to represent the people of Tana River County. So when I go there, I do my work. There are people who, it rubs them politically bad, it rubs them nicely, but I don't bother because I'm in office, and I know if I'm to retain the same seat, I have to run on record. But the distraction comes when we start answering those who want those offices. We answer back, and this back and forth. Then the whole climate is spoiled. And then what you're trying to do is not reflected, because people now have a certain idea against you or for you, and it doesn't reflect the work you're doing. So for me, I think for us who are in office, we should focus on delivering on the promises we gave them. We should focus on delivering on what we intended to do when we came into office, and keep at it. Yeah. Obviously, the other guys from out will keep throwing stones and doing what, but
which is very normal, all right?
Just keep focus. Yeah. And at the end of it, like the president keeps saying, the exam will come in 2027.
Okay. I'm asking this question, Mheshimiwa, so that we open up the conversation.
Yes.
After just a couple of days, we've seen a lot of political movements, starting from Kisii. Fred Matiang'i, the former CS, was away. He came back. He went for that triumphant, welcome back home.
Yes.
And then over the weekend, he was in Wamunyoro. So my question to you, again, coming to you, Wakili Kithi, the political drumbeat that you're trying to see, the political realignments and, groupings and all that, what do you see? Somebody would say that, all right, they are the same faces, but in politics, there's nothing like new faces. Only ideas is what will count at the end of the day.
Or neither.
Or neither?
Or neither.
Okay.
You see, my position is, and I hope I'm right, that people react to you according to what you give them.
Yeah.
So people characterize you because you have characterized yourself. It is what you say and behave that we have a position that we take.
What you're known for.
Yes. And you'll not be known by your heart, because we have no business in your heart. But we believe, and I think I'm right to say, that the mouth and what comes out of your mouth in your words, what you promise and do, because if you don't promise, there'll be no legitimate expectation as against any word. But if you make a pronouncement of a road, of doing, of undoing, of anything, and you make it public, and that's it. We have a pedestal against which we have a measurement to put. If you keep quiet, I have nothing to measure you against except your dress code, how your hair make is, maybe some fashion and style, and so on and so forth. But if you put across certain words, because words will be measured, because they communicate. So you communicate to the public, and you excite the public within the context of your communication. And therefore, you must restore some dignity of the personality in an office in a manner such as to be responsive to the people's will, wish, and the context of what you serve. If you come to my village, where we are desperate for ABCD with water, education, whatever it is, and you tell us you will build the hospital that we want so badly, you will build the road that we want so badly, and you'll solve our problems. But then you do not do anything at all. Or if you do, you do it in order to lip service us. What then is the context of our relationship with you? Remember, there is no enforceable contract between a person elected into office and the people that the person serves. There's nothing enforceable save as to review the same over time, so as that the person will be elected into office again or not. And if it is so, then the only remedy is to keep talking at the person.
Okay.
And that is provided for and allowed.
Yes.
And it is why we are contextually into social movement as a people.
And when you see, for example, the former deputy president, Wamunyoro is a very busy place of late. What do you make of this? Hosting Kalonzo Musyoka, Matiang'i was there, Karua was there, and a host of other former leaders. Some are current, some are not in government already.
Yep, contextualizing that.
How busy is that place?
It's a good thing, and it's very busy. And some of us may busy ourselves to such environments and so on and so forth. You know why? It is because when you kill something that's supposed to be operational and alive, something else springs up.
Yes.
You won't kill the voice of the people. The opposition, led by Raila Odinga, joined government. And the supposition then, in fact the context then, was that there was no opposition because the flag bearer of the opposition was in government. But you see what has happened? Another opposition was recreated. And now the formation and perception, and obviously the collection of the psyche is aggrandizing into one, that the leader of opposition is emerging from the Wamunyoro turf. In effect, therefore, the policies of opposition is being played out within the context of the Wamunyoro movement as is emerging. Because as will have been played, it's no longer being played within the context of Raila Amolo Odinga's turf, as has been the norm for maybe 20 years or a decade or so.
Yeah.
So then the question as to why is it busy is because it's the alternative to what would have been if the opposition was settled in the manner as was designed after election. The opposition as was designed then was that the leader of government and presidents was with, domiciled with Dr. William Ruto, and the opposition was Raila Amolo Odinga. When that merged, then there was a subtle and settled thought that, it is easy because government has been joined by opposition.
Very good.
Not knowing that the context then will that inevitably there will be need for a voice for the people in opposition to government, rightly or wrongly, but in effect, therefore...
Let me bring in Mark here. Mark, Kalonzo Musyoka, you're a member of Wiper, right? And what was that, what do you read out of this? It was a very busy place over the weekend.
Yes. The Wamunyoro is going to be busy. It was very busy over the weekend. It has always been busy for the last few days. And I believe this is so because, something happened before we could know what Gachagua was. That is the former deputy president. When he was impeached from the National Assembly, before then, he was not that famous. He was just a deputy president who was trying to find a footing in Mount Kenya because it was being contested between him and the former president Uhuru Kenyatta. But after the impeachment, it somehow gave him some opportunity to governize the Mount Kenya region into one.
And this is one of the things that made him to be impeached.
Yes. This is one of the things that made him to be impeached. But remember, in Kenya, our Kenyan politics is local.
Yes.
And we are all tribal. Impeaching Gachagua because he was being tribal was not the best way, because even when you look at the leadership that we have, you'll find not even a single leader can claim to be not tribal. So when Gachagua was impeached from the National Assembly, I think with the sympathy and the time to go around the Mount Kenya, I think it has given him more following than he had before. And that's why you find every single person wants to associate with him, simply because Central Province or Mount Kenya, it has a large vote base. And everybody would want
including your party leader, Kalonzo Musyoka.
Including my party leader, because everyone would want to associate with Mount Kenya, simply because there is a big vote base. And I think it's it's not just because Mount Kenya has a rich vote base. It's because we are having some governance issues with the current government.
Okay.
And that's why you'll find even Gachagua, who was pushed by the Gen Z and lately by the former president, has also joined the Wamunyoro team. And I think it's something which is going to be interesting in the coming days, because as the 2027 elections approach, they will have to maybe pick one candidate from the team, which also is going to get us to a better position of having a very united opposition that can challenge the current government.
All of these are senior members of this country, Senator. You've worked with them.
Yes.
And you know them on a personal level.
Yes.
When you look at, that lineup and the visit, well, somebody say it was, when you go to visit someone, there's nothing wrong in visiting someone, but there's a political connotation to it.
Yes.
Matiang'i visiting there, Gachagua, Matiang'i, Martha Karua, Kalonzo Musyoka, and a host of other leaders. Of course, the eye is on 2027.
Correct.
Is it going to achieve the ultimate goal?
No. No. You see, here, there's a position that is being propounded by Gachagua, and it seems to have some following. Personally, I will impeach Gachagua today, tomorrow, every other day, because you cannot be a deputy president or a president for that matter, and then you come out openly to tell people, I'm championing the interest of one region.
Yeah.
And I remember when I filed the notice of motion for censure, I said it as much. I said, as a senator from Tana River County, then I also we need a deputy president who champions for the Coast Province. We need a deputy president who champions for Nairobi, for Northeastern, for Rift Valley. That kind of thinking, I think, is very outdated, and it is wrong for this country. That you can come, aspire for national position, but in fact, you're just a village thinker. So anytime I will impeach him. And he started by bringing the issue of 1 shilling, 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote. And I remember I also came out strongly to say, look, some of our counties, like Tana River, we have big land mass, but small populations. So if you start saying 1 shilling, 1 vote, what you are saying is you are alienating the treasury from us. And we need this money as much as you need it to develop our regions. So for me, a person who comes out and say tribalism should be the guiding factor, tribalism should be the factor that determines political parties, political affiliation, I think that kind of person, we must fight them. We must fight. In fact, Kenyans must look at these people and ask themselves, these people, if you come out and say, I'm championing the interest of Kisii, I'm championing the interest of Mount Kenya, I'm championing the interest of the Kamba people, and you're aspiring to a national position, I think you're doing a great injustice to this nation. And I will still stand here and tell you that even though it may sound very popular, I may be very popular in my village, my own small village, that I am telling them, when I get there, my people, you will be in the kitchen, you will be given more schools, you'll be given more roads, my people will cheer me, but behind, after my village, who else is cheering me? Who else is cheering me? And let us think about this nation in terms of the future. If we have political parties congregating in terms of their tribal bases, where are we taking this nation? What are we telling our children? Don't intermarry, because you'll produce children who are half or quarter and whatever. Like I was a product of different tribes. My children are products of different tribes. So what are we telling this country? Are we Kenyans or are we different tribes?
All right.
So let me just finish by saying.
I'll give you time to talk to that. But the same reason why you moved that censure motion against him is the same reason why many people are actually now rushing to get him.
Yeah, that's why I want.
Let's just take a break. I want to serve you
okay,
tea.
okay.
I want to serve you tea.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Hii ndio ile location nimepokea. Hii kibuyu inakaa ile ilitumiwa na kina Deta ni Kimathi wakipigania independence. Hiyo unafaa ushike. Nisamee tu tafadhali.
Nakwambia ukijaribu kuleta indo. Na naenda kuambia maafisa hii.
Sema siunde. It is a taboo for an African woman to be on top ya roof.
Hatuna mchezo sasa. Sisi huko sasa
wewe kuja nikubebe. Nini?
Unafanya mromo mafarao makosa.
Hii ni XP. Hii ni shika yeye.
Got the fear of missing out? Want to keep up with all the latest entertainment news and latest celebrity gossip? From the latest rumors to popping events to the newest fashion trends, here is where you get all the tea or juice when it comes to entertainment, and you get it served on time. All that and so much more on Grapevine every single Monday only on KBC Channel 1. Remember, if you did not see it on Grapevine, then it most probably never happened.
All right, welcome back. So, Senator, I'll give you a minute so that you finalize your statement.
I was just finalizing this point that we need to look at more developed countries. I've just seen Australia.
Yes.
They have concluded their elections, and you will see what they were fighting. It's ideas, ideas, I've just seen the new Canadian Prime Minister also, who has just won his election. And again, what was he talking about? Ideas. And the main thing there was the other side and this other side. How shall we engage with America, the new America that has Trump on the chair? And these other guys convinced the other people that we are better set to engage Trump, and they elected him. And so they expect results. The same America, there were these ideas, and the new Trump who came in and said, we need to put America first. We need to protect our economy. We don't need to pick up the tab for our military bases outside there without those people paying something to us. I mean, we need to be a little selfish for our nation. And they accepted those ideas and voted for him. Now, in Kenya, I just need to be a Pokomo to go and tell people, vote your own.
Yes.
And that is a sad, sad thing. And we must take a stand and say, let us fight for ideas. Even if it costs but we must tell the truth, because the truth is what is going to help this country. If I am for tax increment, and I think that the nation will go better if when I get into government, I need to do this and that and that, and I need your taxes. And the other guy is coming in to say, no, we don't need taxes. What we need is to tie up the holes for corruption and, or tax administration, whatever it is that you propose. And then there are two forces fighting, and then one of them wins. Then you expect certain results. But if you say that I'm your own, just vote for me because I'm your tribe, then I can come in and totally abuse my office. And what did you get? You got what you wanted. You just wanted your own to be in the kitchen cooking. Who is eating that food? You don't care. And I think our country needs to move to a higher level of politics.
But it seems that's the kind of politics that we are used to as Kenyans.
We are used to that, but then we don't sit down and say, we surrender, we say now we are all going to be tribal. I think we need to still tell our children that with good ideas, with hard work, you are going to be able to deliver this country. Don't just come and say it's my tribe and then you sell
All right. Mark, there is a push to bring back the Gema community as a block. Go ahead.
I think I want to comment on what Mheshimiwa here has said. The problem we have with tribalism is not within the people themselves, but is on the leadership. Because there is a simple way to kill tribalism. If we elect somebody, a leader, who wants to do away with tribalism, the first thing he must do is to bring all the community together. But you find that every time, for the last 10 years, we've had a government. Good example was in 2017, in 2013 when Uhuru and the current president were elected. So what happened after they were elected? The government was formed by two communities. You find Kikuyus had 10 ministers, Kalejins had 10 ministers. And if we continue to have such kind of leadership, our people will always want to be associated with their leaders. And I think we can change from that by electing people who are going to bring all the communities together. Simply, you don't become a president, and once you become a president, you want also to work with only the people who elected you. You should even go further and work with the, not necessarily working with the opposition, but you can work with all the people in terms of appointing them in government, not necessarily because they are going to give you a support in terms of votes, but because you want to bring everybody on board. So I think we have a chance of doing away with the tribalism if we can elect people who want to do what is supposed to be done, and people want to follow the constitution. Because we have a very good constitution, which if followed, it can even bring down this tribalism thing by almost 50%. Because look at the way the appointments are done. The constitution has given us the best way to appoint people is to look at the regions, you look at the tribes, so that nobody is going to complain that I'm not in government. But I see us failing because even the current government, for you to get development, you have to go and lead to the president. You have to take a delegation to the president so that you can be given some development. So if we can do away with this thing of we are the people in the government and we are the people who are supposed to get development, I think we'll have done maybe a small percentage of tribalism.
I want us to get to something else. And Wakili, allow me to ask you this. Is it a tactic that you're trying to see, for example, the president is in Nyanza, to be specific in Migori County, for 3 days. But you can see different leaders, mostly from the opposition or ODM, speaking differently. Tactic, scripted, or deliberate?
Yeah, I think a cocktail of both. Let me put it this way first. because that then probably summarizes the entirety of what you brought up, linking it up with what my good friends have said. Historically, and it's recent history, because we're talking about 60 years or so, we were never a nation. We never existed as Kenya.
Yes.
In fact, we were forced into some geographical convenience called Kenya. We existed as some tribes. Of course, as at then, not civilized in the context of the laws that we have. So we moved into one geographical convenience called Kenya, and we invented or brought in the independence constitution that was supposed to create us into one society called Kenya, barring the tribe and everything. And that was the intention. In fact, we had a common enemy then that we drove away. Those that got into leadership then had a very good chance to socialize us into the intention of the constitution then. Leadership failed. And the people, therefore, were socialized into each other's difference. And the most important one that is dominant now and then is tribe. The benefits that come with the derivative of government is tribe. And the suffering of a Kenyan, in the mind of a Kenyan, would have been lesser if our own tribe would be in power. And that's the creation of the national psyche as at then that continue to be dominant today. Fast forward, therefore, is that in any society, including your own house and family, there must be a difference. There must be features of difference that are dominant. It could be tribe, it could be religion, it could be race, it could be anything. And it's not written anywhere that that difference is wrong. It becomes wrong when it is used in the wrong way in order to oppress others and lift others into opium of sorts. Now, what happens today is that the most dominant feature in Kenya, in our society, is ethnicity. It is tribe. So much so that we have legislated for it and against it at times. More oftenly against it. We speak against it. But that's how we are socialized. You know, my good friend Danson Mongatana is here because he's a Pokomo representing Pokomos.
Not true.
Wait.
Not true.
Wait. He's representing Pokomos as...
The senator of
just wait.
was elected by all the tribes.
Just wait.
Let's speak the facts.
Just wait. When people of a certain area are organized ethnically in a certain fiefdom that has been given that identity, sometimes a tribal identity, they are supposed to vote one of their own into a national congregation called parliament. For instance, the people of Tana River are not all Kenyans. The dominant ones will be seen to be Pokomos, the Giriamas who have settled there, and others. Those will elect someone into leadership. And therefore, it is their interest that ought to be served. They are therefore the fiefdom, the interest that would serve those people to be served. And then at the national level, their interests that ought to be served that are national. So there are specific interests for a certain group that has sent their own representation into parliament. And they are the national interests that ought to be served. What comes first? And the question will be, for me, if I've talked like a Kenyan, is that I'm first served with what is immediate for me, which means ethnicity could come first before national. If we go therefore to represent our own in parliament, what are we representing? We are representing our backyard, the people who have sent us. And therefore they've asked that we can't go
Isn't that what people are trying to run away from?
Exactly. Let me put it this way. What the people are saying is that we've sent you to represent us at the National Assembly so that we cannot all come and speak for ourselves. But speak for us there. Represent us, because representative is one of them. Now, there's always this discrete of friction of what is national and what is ethnic and what ought to be dominant in that context. What I think ought to be dominant is national, of course. But that's in theory. Because in fact, if you not serve the people in the manner in which then they've sent you, whether ethnic or otherwise, you don't get re-elected. Now, the best will be serve national, even if it's going to be painful, as much as possible, not be re-elected. But that's in theory. Because in fact, what will happen is people expect you to serve them in the context of where they come from. Are you from Turkana? Are you from Samburu? Are you from Kilifi? Are you from Taita? That's the context. And therefore what I'm saying is, the society has its own transition. What we talk about ethnicity is not what it was 50 years ago. Because people have intermarried. People have intellectualized society and people have gone to school. I'm able therefore to relate at the national level as opposed to my own village level because I'm socialized in an urban setup that has those variations of tribes.
You mentioned Senator and Senator said no.
Yeah, let me just say this.
Yes.
Tribal domination, and I want to say this again, tribal domination is as dangerous as colonial domination. Tribal domination is as dangerous as colonial domination. And it will never be right today, and it will never be right tomorrow. Colonial domination was never right then, it would never be right today. And these are not theories. These are things some of us have lived to make them happen within our small way where we have influence. When I served as Member of Parliament in Garsen, and Tana River is like a conglomeration of all the tribes because, yes, we have Pokomo, and then we have Orma, we have Wardei, we have Wailwanas, we have Munyoyaya, we have Wata, then we have the settling communities like the Giriamas, the Kikuyus, the Luos and Kampas and so on, the Merus. But the three main tribes are Pokomo, Orma and Wardei. And I have told the people at that time that when I go to sit in Parliament as MP for Garsen, I am MP for all of you, you know, not for my tribe. And same, when you come and you are now the senator, it is even aggravated because you are carrying the entire county, and it is not easy. But the easier path is to go into tribal cocoons and do those. So any politician who is doing this kind of politics, these are lazy politicians. Lazy politicians, and they must be condemned. Even now, before the general election, they must be called out. Please stand up and tell me, I'm going to be governor because Nairobi needs this and that. Tana River needs this and that. Mombasa needs this and that. Don't say, I'm going to be governor because I'm a Luya, I'm a Pokomo, I'm a Taita. I mean, that kind of nonsense must come to an end. And the people of Kenya must stand and say no. If truly we want to have this nation move forward, it doesn't matter where we've come from. We have to look at the future and be able to tell our children, look, a Muhindi in Kenya has as much right as you, who is a Kamba. You people go to the same schools. You people speak Kiswahili and English. You people are making a life out of the same economy. Let us build this nation for our own good. Don't tell me that because I come from Tana River, then that is where I should do my business.
Allow me to ask you a question. When you moved that censure motion against former deputy president, one of the reasons was he used to mention Watu Mount Kenya.
Correct.
All right?
Correct.
And right now we are seeing everybody's now moving towards Mount Kenya.
Correct.
And Mark Ndingo here, who is a member of WIPA,
correct,
there is that call to solidify Mount Kenya to become Gema community.
Yes.
Good or bad?
From where I sit, this next general election, we must test the ideas. You know, you can be selling tribe.
Yes.
And I'm selling, let us reduce taxes. You are selling tribe. And I'm selling, let us have less corruption. You know, you're selling tribe. And then let us see if the country, by the way, I keep saying that you deserve what you elect. You know, if the country says, no, this nation needs to have, you know, one side, you know, the Kalenjin, the Luyas, then this is the way the nation should live. And this is the country that we need. And my idea is that, look, we need to have a nation, we need to have a Kenya that we call a country, is defeated, then it means maybe they are right. So what you should do is divide this country properly. Cut off the mountain. Leave me with my river in Tana River. Cut off the sea. Let me also have my... Let's go all the way. If you really believe that the tribe should be the center of everything, then let us divide this country, let the tribes take their positions, and let us relate like people are arguing in the pre-colonial days. Sell me salt, I sell you, goats. I think, and because you can see the absurdity and the stupidity of that, following that idea to its logical conclusion, then let us take a reverse. Sell something that will help this country grow. Okay. Sell something that will help East Africa grow.
It sounds really good.
Sell something that will help Africa grow.
It sounds really good, Senator. But at the end of the day, when people approach election, Mark, we'll always call sisi watu wa Mulembe, sisi watu wa Mulima, sisi watu wa this and that. It has never evaded our lips during elections.
Yeah. Our society, I think, has been socialized in a way that they think of first you start with your community, then you go to the other communities. Even in the simplest seats of MCS, one will start with the clan, go to the region, then later you will go to the ward. For MP, the same. So I think, as I said, what our people should do is to go further and look for leaders who can, leaders who don't want to engage in those tribal talk.
Yes.
And there is a question you asked Mheshimiwa here about Mount Kenya. I think what the Mount Kenya leaders are doing is they are saying it openly, as opposed to other leaders who want to talk about their tribes at night. Because every Kenyan, every leader in Kenya would want to be associated with this tribe. But many of them will fear to talk about it during the day. But you find them in the night talking about their leaders. They want to be associated with their leaders, with their communities. So I think what we need to do is to do more. Not we don't need to say that we are not going to governize communities to vote in one side, and at the same time we say we are going to finish tribalism. So I think one problem that has brought us to this situation is the leaders who have come before before us. Look, a good example, when we got independence, we had a president who could have taken this situation and change the way we believe, and they change the way our people think about our tribes. Other countries have tried it and they have managed. Good example is Tanzania. They have more tribes than Kenya, but rarely do they speak about one tribe. You will always find them speaking even a single language of Kiswahili. But look at our country, Kenya. So I think if we can educate our people and we get the right leaders, somebody who is going to do away with their tribe and look further and unite our country in a more unified way, I think we can go somewhere. Yeah.
Wakili, because I only have 5 minutes, let me ask you this question. So what is Wanjiku used to, and can it be changed?
This issue of tribe won't end today or tomorrow. But I want to put it this way. It is good not to have a discussion and reorganize resources based on tribe. It is not good. Yet the representation is made
towards that.
Yes, is made such that we've legislated on it. We actually, that is the dominant topic. In fact, presidency in this country over all the times has had a certain identity, ethnic identity. It is now, it shall forever be.
And that is what Wanjiku used
until a
to.
day when we don't have tribe. When shall we not have tribe? And this is the position. Maybe the dominance of tribe must be lesser than merit. That's what we should be looking at. But even if that was the case, how about if you had a whole cabinet of one tribe? How about if that comes? Meritorious, but how about if you had that day? The reason why we say we want to equalize the country through an equalization fund, the reason why we say that it must have whatever appointment that is made within a pool of a certain sector must have the face of Kenya is because most tribes or all tribes must be included. What is an inclusive government in the context of Kenya? An inclusive government is one that takes care of all ethnicity. Let's not beat about the bush. Fact is, we are divided into the dominance of tribes today.
Can it change?
It can change.
How?
It should change because it depends on the leadership of the day. If the leadership of the day is such that you do not make your resource mobilization and distribution, including the appointment and reorganization of society along tribal lines, at least it is not seen to be so. Then what you've done is you've sent a communication
so let's put it this way.
to the
when
public.
you look at Honorable Matiang come from Kisii, all right? Kalonzo Musyoka is from Kamba, etc., etc.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
So it can change.
It can change.
So there's no tribal blocking in as far as these leaders are concerned.
We are having this discussion because there's an election that is coming.
Yes.
On an ordinary day, Akisi doesn't look at a Luo or a Kikuyu as a rival. He looks he looks at him as a Kenyan.
Okay.
And today I wouldn't look at any other tribe, and Kenyans do not look at each other in the context of tribe on a day-to-day. You enter into a matatu not because you belong to a Somali, or you get into business not because it belongs to so and so. You don't apply for employment because the leader there is from your tribe. You want to look for a job. You go to school not because the head of the school, owner of the school, if it's a private school, is from a tribe. But this happens and becomes dominant because it is made dominant by the times, such as during elections.
I'll treat that as your closing remark. But, gentlemen, we all know Kenya is mourning. Of course, Kenya lost a member of parliament, Mheshimiwa, a legislator like you, of course. 30 seconds, a message of condolence, of course. This happening, of course, we've heard that 4 people have been arrested, then police are still widening the net in as far as it's concerned. As a legislator, let me start with you first.
Quickly, I have read something about Charles outside there, but for me, the way we related with him, he was a dedicated member of the gym in the house. And I met a fine gentleman. And I think the people of Kasipul, Kabondo, from what I know about Charles Were, we lost a good man. But I don't know. I'm seeing so many other things. So we say Pole, and we wish them a quick recovery. And we pray that he will have good speed. But in my closing remark, I would like to say that that day will come. Whether these tribalists or the people who believe that they need their communities to survive, like it or not, that day will come when Kenya will be a better nation, where I will feel comfortable to settle in any part of this country and do business. And I want to agree that the leadership must bite the bullet. In Kigali today, in Rwanda, if you say I'm a Tutsi, or even if you ask somebody his tribe, that guy will report you to the police. So sometimes we need to be rough about it. Tanzania did it differently. Kenya, we can achieve this. And I'm telling these people, they can do their tribal, the majority is not necessarily right. There was a time people believed that we need, the whole world is flat. Oh, everybody believed that, but they were wrong. So people who believe that communities are the ones that must take them to the presidency, I think ideas should take us there. And that day will come one day, because we are also coming there.
Thank you. Mark?
Yeah, on I think on the people of Kasipul,
yes.
I think it was sad for them to lose their MP, who has been there for the last few years. And also I think it's also not, on terms of security, I think the government should do better to to take care of everybody, because if an MP can just be shot like that, it means the ordinary mwananchi can also have a rough time. So may it so rest in peace. On my closing remarks, I think for us to change on the way we run our country, those in the leadership should give us the face of Kenya in terms of employment, in terms of development, and if we start from there, from the top, I think
Thank you very
we'll go
much.
somewhere.
Okay, a message of condolence, I think.
Yes. My condolence
Thank you.
to the people and also Kenyans for the loss of our parliament. He was a legislator for all of us. I must say this as a closure very fast, is that I don't think Kenyans are tribal. They are made to be tribal, obviously by how they are reorganized. Organized as tribal, they will respond. If they're organized such that every person feels part and parcel of the society called Kenya, we still will react to that. It is how we organize that these issues come up.
Thank you.
We hope that a day comes that we don't have to be organized as tribal cocoons, but as Kenyans, as a society, as one Kenya.
Thank you so much. I think that's a good way to end it. Today it has not been about this or that. It's about us coming together. And by the way, the president has been calling about let's be united as a nation. Thank you so much. Danson Mungatana, who is the Senator of Tana River, asante sana for coming to the show. Mark Ndingo, governance expert and a political analyst, joining me on set, as well as Wakili George Kithi, an advocate of the High Court. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. My name is Victor. Have a good morning. Bye-bye.
Greetings in the name of the Most High, Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the positive warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice, we
have to do it twice.
Right now, quickly.
Pick up your phone, Biggie.
No one tells me what to do.
Nani amenigonga? Who's hit? Hey! Out of my house.
I'll say this again and again. Tina, sit down and talk to your husband. Talking to your mother here is not a solution. She's got problems of her own.
I am not stupid. I've done this kind of monkey business before. So I know my time. 4 hours, Biggie. 4 hours. Thank you for the cup of tea, by the way.
At least everyone knows I do business. I keep wondering, what are his dealings?
Kuna shida.
Why will he respond to your WhatsApp messages and not our calls?
Sijamuona.
Huh?
Sijamuona, madam. Hello. Who's this?
Hii ndio ile location nimepokea. Hii kibuyu inakaa ile ilitumiwa na kina Deta Nikimato kipigania independence. Hiyo unafaa ushike. Nisamee tu tafadhali.
Ni nakwambia ukijaribu kuleta indo. Na naenda kuambia maafisa hii.
Sema sonde. It is a taboo for an African woman to be on top ya roof.
Hatuna mchezo sasa. Sisi huko sasa ile kama
wewe
kuja nikubebe.
Nini?
Unafanya mromo masarau makosa.
Hii ni XP. Hii ni shika yeye.
And Good Morning Kenya gets to continue. Thank you for staying with us. My name is Vivian Ndegwa. And right about now, we get into a conversation that is on inclusion, diversity, and equity. And we are looking at the state of both in diversity, equity, and inclusion in Kenya. And joining me for that particular conversation is one Dr. Mureithi Ndegwa. Dr. Mureithi is the Executive Director and CEO of the Kenya Institute of Management. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to have you on board. So if we may just begin first by looking at it, generally or all round. When we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, what exactly are we looking at?
Thank you very much, Vivian, and good morning, viewers. I think the key thing when you're looking at diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI as people normally call it, is all about fairness and inclusion. Having a workforce that is diverse, that is inclusive, where the environment also people feel that it's conducive for working.
Yeah, so there's a report that was recently released. There's a report that was released last month in March. No, last month was April. I'm still in April. So it was released in March, and it was on this exact conversation, the state of both diversity, equity, and inclusion in Kenya. What are some of the things that you'd say came out or were part of this particular report?
All right, thank you very much, Vivian. I think, firstly, let me just give a background in the sense that as KIM, we've been tracking both diversity, equity, and inclusion since the year 2012. And so every 2 years we release a report. So the previous report we had released was in 2021. Unfortunately, we didn't release this report in 2024. So that's when we released. That's why we released it in March. What is important to note is that since 2012, when you look at the aspect of gender parity in the boards, there's been a continuous growth. Because in 2012, when we first started tracking, representation was only at about 12%. But in the report that we released in March this year, the parity was at 35%. However, let me give a rider. In 2021, it was at 36%. So we see 1% drop, which is significant in our view, because certainly we should be seeing a growth trend as opposed to a drop.
Yeah, so if we can just, look at that, the drop in the number of women who are, in that top management, because the board is like the top management of any institution or company, from 2021 being 36% to now 2024, there's a 1% drop. Clearly, it's something that should be concerning because as it is, we're looking at, advancing and not, getting such drops. So maybe what are some of the challenges or what are some of the reasons that may be causing this kind of drop?
We think in our view that, there was a lot of talk about, and there was a lot of work that was being done in terms of ensuring that policies are put in place to ensure that there's diversity, both at the pipeline and also at the top level. But we see a case where perhaps there's a bit of a slackening in the last couple of years. And I think post-COVID, this is where the challenge has come in, because post-COVID, there seems to be a slackening, a pullback, that it's all about, there's no need for us to engage in diversity, which is not correct. And we also see a case where that drive, that push that was there, perhaps there's a bit of a slackening. And I think the question that we are asking ourselves, and even when we are launching the report, we are saying, is that we need to maintain the momentum, because even at 36%, it's still way below what is actually specified in the UN Sustainable Development Goals, especially goal number 5, which talks about women and youth in terms of parity, in terms of equity. So there's quite a bit of work that needs to be done. And I think the essence for us was mainly to, once we launched the report, we also sensitize the public, we also sensitize the people in senior positions that there's need for us not to slacken back. There's need for us to maintain the momentum so that we can continue the upward trajectory to reach the ultimate 50%, which is the minimum level.
Yeah. And you know, if we just get into maybe policies, you know, do you feel like there are enough policies? You know, are there specific policies or guidelines that actually promote board diversity?
Well, let me put it this way, that in a lot of organizations, especially those ones that participated in the research, the awareness is there. And in fact, some of them also said they have policies that guide diversity, equity, and inclusion. But you know, having policies is one thing, but doing is another thing. And that's the reason why we are saying that it is important that we maintain this momentum, so that we are not simply just saying the policies are in place. It's a good thing to do. It is certainly not just a good thing to do, but it's also a human rights issue. There's no way you can leave out 50% or a certain percentage of your population, yet when you look at the population, it's almost 50-50. So it's, I would say, to answer the question, policies are in place in a number of organizations. Awareness is also in place, but I think it's a question of that drive to ensure that they do as they say.
Yeah, the implementation.
Absolutely.
So we are not short of policies.
We are
they
not
are
short
there,
of
they're
policies.
in place.
Yeah.
It's just the implementation that maybe sometimes that's where we're slacking.
Absolutely.
You know, is there a way is there a particular way of measuring, you know, the performance at the board level?
Yes, there are. Okay, let me generally speak in terms of the board performance measurement. There are lots of companies out there that will come and tell you they can help you in terms of measuring the board performance, whether it's in terms of decision making, in terms of agility, in terms of aspects like how quick they are in terms of decision making and so on and so forth. So yes, metrics are there.
Yeah. Are there specific ones for DEI, for diversity, inclusion and equity?
Absolutely, yes. There are specific measurements, criteria for DEI. One perfect example is by an author called Lee, I think Jordan or something like that. And I think he talks about apple pie, where A stands for attrition, then P is performance, then the other P is problem solving, etc., including even aspects like inclusivity and so on. So he gives a model that talks about 7 different metrics. Some of them are quantitative, others are qualitative. But using that model, one can easily be able to measure the board performance as far as, or the organizational performance as far as DEI is concerned. Yeah.
So there is a way of measuring that.
There is a way of doing it, yes.
You know, you've mentioned like that from the report, you know, there was the decline, maybe the decline in women in these positions at the board.
Yes.
How about, what about the youth? You know, is this something that is also something that came out off of the report? You know, do we have young people as board members? You know, matters age. When you talk about inclusion, age also has to be there, and diversity.
Absolutely.
So what of age?
Thank you very much. Now, thank you so much again, Vivian, for bringing that question. Now, in terms of the review that we did, we looked at several variables. One of the variables which we've mentioned quite rightly is gender parity. The other one also we looked at is age. We also looked at education. We also looked at the profession. We also looked at the religious inclination. We also looked at aspects to do with whether there are persons living with disability in the board and so on and so forth. So there were very many metrics that we looked at. Now for age, it was actually a very interesting phenomenon because we saw that only about 19.4% of the boards have people of the age we would call youth in terms of representation. And this is quite something that will say a lot of work needs to be done. Why do I say this? If you look at the Kenyan population, we are told about 75%
are the youth.
Yeah. From ages 18 to 35. Now, if the average age of the board members, chairpersons, from our research is 46, then you see there's a very significant proportion of people that are being left out. And this is the youth, the Gen Zs, and so on and so forth. So a deliberate effort needs to be done to include or to bring in youth into the C-suite, then prepare them so that they can take leadership positions at the top level, so that we also have that aspect of the youth being represented as opposed to feeling like they're completely not represented. Then there's a question you raised in terms of, is there a benefit in bringing the youth? Yes, certainly there's a lot of benefits in bringing the youth. Look at aspects to do with innovation and creativity. Who is better to bring in innovation and creativity?
Of course, the youth.
Of course, it's the youth. Look at the way the world is moving in terms of technology. Who is more technology savvy? Again, it's the youth. So we are missing out in bringing a very critical group that should be part and parcel of decision making in organizations.
Yeah. Why is that so? Why are we lacking, younger people in this management? Like, what is exempting the young people from getting to those, those positions?
Very nice question. Let's look at it from this perspective. One is that the boardroom in most organizations, usually it's a case of maybe old boy network or old girl network. So Vivian knows Moreidi, and she says, oh, I think this guy can do well in my board. So she calls me, or I call you. Instead of looking at the critical skill set that you require, a lot of organizations, it's a question of the network of people that they have. That's one. Number two, there's also the aspect of lack of deliberate efforts to bring in diversity by bringing the youth, by bringing people who are different orientation in terms of maybe in terms of disability and so on and so forth. That aspect is lacking in a lot of the boards. And then thirdly, there is also the aspect also of a lot of times boards are looking at bringing people with certain experience. Exactly. But you ask yourself, a Gen Z who is maybe about 20, 25 years old, he or she may be left out, not because they cannot perform, not because they cannot deliver, but because they are seen not to have the requisite skills. Then again, there is a story that is told about the peacock and the penguin. Penguins, they are white with black. So in the boardroom, when you bring in a peacock who is colorful, you feel like, this is not one of us. So there are all those aspects. I hope I've answered the question.
You have. And, the issue of experience, I feel like this is something that, even as we talk, as the youth, this is something that comes out. You're qualified, you've just come out of university, you have the skills, you are a smart person and all that. But then when you get into the job market, or try to get into the job market, the biggest disparity sometimes is that experience, because you find that there's this position, but what they want is, yes, you have this qualification and this, but then when it comes to the experience, they want someone with 10 years experience. Where are we supposed to get
Where are you going to get that from? Yes, indeed, that is actually a very big challenge, because sometimes you find that, especially in the world today, especially in the technology-related companies, agility is very, very key. Things are changing so fast. I mean, we are now talking about AI in a lot of institutions, in a lot of the working of today. Now, tell me, the older person, are they really likely to change and switch into technology as easily as a young person would do? So even when you talk about experience, yes, the experience is okay, but you need to also talk about the ability of the person to switch to the new environment, because we are living in a very competitive environment.
Is there a way we can change that? Or are there maybe measures, looking towards that?
Yes. I think there are ways that we can do that. Firstly, let the organization be aware that there is need to bring in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And research has shown that organizations that embrace DEI, they outperform others. 2, they are quicker in terms of problem solving. 3, they embrace innovation and creativity much more. And 4thly, even things like agility, technology, and so on, they're able to embrace. So the research clearly shows that there is a need for us to embrace diversity. Now, in terms of how to do it, in my view, I think one of the things that we need to do is ensure that when you are hiring people for the board, you do it in a competitive manner. Open it up. Again, also, make very deliberate steps to say that the skill set I require may be this, but I also need to diversify my board by bringing in somebody with youth, or who is a youth, somebody maybe who is also a PWD, or somebody who is maybe maybe has a certain aspect that may not necessarily be available at the current level. That's one. Number two, the pipeline is usually a challenge. We see when it comes to the C-suite, there's almost some high representation of women in that aspect. But as the pipeline goes higher, as you climb the ladder, the pipeline gets narrower and narrower, more or less like a cone. So much so that by the time you reach the top, like what we've seen now is that in our research, only 23% of chairpersons, 23% are CEOs are women.
Oh, wow.
Globally, it's only 6%. Imagine.
Globally, is 6%.
6% globally, according to research by Deloitte. So you can see clearly that a deliberate effort needs to be done so that as the pipeline is going up, instead of going conical, we change so that it can go vertical or it can even increase. And one of the things that needs to be done is encouraging the people in the pipeline, whether it's the youth, whether it is the women, or whether it's PWDs or other aspects, for people to rise up and get to those senior positions. Then when it comes to the recruitment, again, as I said, it is important to ensure that you put the metrics on the table. And you say, we deliberately need to bring in this percentage of women into our boards. And you live by that. The Constitution talks about a third gender rule. Now, how many of the boards have that, meet that criteria? So that's a critical starting point that we can also build on. Again, also, it is important to ensure that you train people accordingly so that they stop having these biases or nuances that a youth will bring problems in the board. They also need to embrace the youth and say, even as we are young at one time, and the youth will also grow old at one time. So embrace them by training them, mentoring them, coaching them, so that they can also rise up and see the need now to rise up in the ranks. These are some of the measures, but of course there are many other aspects that you can do.
That can be put in place.
Absolutely.
Let's look at education, you know, as one of the also things that may, you know, come between, you know, the diversity and equity in these particular spaces. When you talk about education, there are different education levels, you know, from certificate, diploma, all the way to PhD. When looking at this, how do you go about looking at, you know, at education in line with DEI? Diversity, equity and inclusion.
Thank you again, Vivian. Now, there's a misconception, I think, that people always have, that the more educated you are, the better you'll be in performance. Now, what we saw in our research is that a number of the CEOs in the board survey, in the survey that we did, actually were holding PhDs. Many of them were also were graduate holders, and very, very few were below the level of graduate. However, when we did regression analysis to try and see whether education has a contributing effect on performance, the interesting thing is that when you have diversity as far as education is concerned, it has a direct correlation in terms of performance. So that therefore means that you do not necessarily have to fill your board with PhD holders or with degree holders. You need that diversity, because the way a person will see things is different from the other person. And we actually saw that the boards where there is that diversity, where you have very educated persons and also people with certificate or even diploma level, that and this is also research that this is a finding that we saw in the research. What does this mean? What it means, therefore, is that we need to embrace ourselves and embrace all aspects of levels of education. I'm not saying that you fill your board with people who are not degree holders. Neither am I saying that you fill your board with people who are degree holders. It's good to have that diversity, because every person brings in a skill set that adds value to the institution. Interestingly also, majority of the people, the respondents we saw, they were in the area of business.
And where exactly do we draw the line between, you know, one earning this position by merit, or one just being offered because we are looking to diversify?
Very interesting. Interesting in the sense that, you know, traditions have been followed over time. So, for example, if it's an organization that has been all the time maybe recruiting people on the basis of asking people to send CVs or asking people to send the contacts of their friends, and then headhunting is done. It's difficult for them to change so that they see the need for us to, the need to diversify. But what I've seen, there are a few organizations I've seen in the media advertising for positions of boards. I know, for example, like our sponsored university, Management University of Africa, we actually sent out adverts on social media, in our website, other websites, and we said we are looking for people to join in. And then you look at all the applications, look at the current skill set, and then you're able to balance on the basis of what you need. So I've seen organizations that really go out and try to diversify by saying, let it be open to everybody. And I think the key thing then is, what should we do as a country? And I think this is where we need to clearly say that the time has come not to hold things close to the chest, but to open things up and say, let the best man or woman take the position.
Yeah. Okay. I want us to look at ethnicity. You know, and this is something that has actually been spoken about during the political.
Now, if you are then selling across all boundaries, across all markets, and you fill your board with people oriented in the same tribal inclination, then obviously they're going to be thinking in the same direction. And chances are that you may not be able to take cognizance of the fact that an El Molo somewhere needs your product. And they may also not be able to see how to communicate in terms of the attributes or the benefits the benefits that product is going to give to the El Molo. So I would say, even from our research, we felt that it is important to have ethnicity diversity in the boards. Because people will normally think differently, and you need to embrace all these aspects. In any case, you are selling to the entire country, so have diversity. You may not be able to have all communities represented, because it means if you're to have every community represented, then you're talking about more than 50 people in a board. But you can have representation of the majority, in other words, those ones that are in the large group, and then also have one or two minority persons so that they can also bring in that diversity from the minority perspective. Okay.
There's another group that we have to talk about, that is the PWDs, you know, persons living with disability. What came off of the report, you know, concerning them?
Thank you. Now, it was a bit surprising in the sense that when it comes to the PWDs, we saw that 57% of the boards do not have a person who would be categorized as a PWD. Now, that is a very high percentage. In terms of awareness was there, in terms of able to access. But do they have Braille? Do they have people who can do sign language interpretation? Yet, you are marketing or you are selling your products to a country where you also have people who have disability, either in terms of sight or even in terms of physicality and so on and so forth. So we felt that it is important from the research that we talk about this so that the conversation goes beyond simply talking to people embracing diversity from PWD's perspective.
And when we're also, as we almost come to a conclusion of this conversation, when you talk about integrational, you know, boards, let's look at religion. You know that Kenya, we're not just a one religion country. You know, there's Christians, there's Islams. We also have Hindus in the country, so there's Buddhists and all that. So when it comes to religion, how does that look like?
Okay, interesting. Now, again, also from the research that we did, we saw representation is mainly by the main religious inclinations. When I mean the main ones is exactly as you've said. However, for the minority religions, they were hardly ever represented. Again, also, remember, again, also products sometimes can also be products that appeal to the mainstream and products that also appeal to the minority religions. So there is also but nevertheless, we need also to take cognizance of the fact that the population is diverse, and therefore we also embrace religious diversity.
Okay, I'll allow you to give us your final remarks in just a minute or less than a minute.
Thank you very much, Vivian. I think for me, from a Kenya Institute of Management perspective, is that this research that we presented in March, as Vivian has said, it is a research that we need to get into. It's something that we need. Not just corporate, but organizations out there can embrace can embrace diversity, equity, and inclusion, because that's the only way we can ensure that the entire population is represented all people in this country are represented, and ensure also that as we do that, we bring in aspects of quick decision-making, agility, and also improvement of performance by embracing diversity. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. This is where we end this particular discussion. That was Dr. Mureithi Ndegwa, who is the Executive Director and CEO of the Kenya Institute of Management. Don't you go too far. Good Morning Kenya gets to continue, and when I come back, we will be getting into Family Check.
Je, umewahi kuwa na deni ya KRA? Basi usiwe na shaka. KRA wakishirikiana na KBC wamekuandalia roadshow murwa kabisa. Jiunge nasi tukufahamishe kuhusu KRA Tax Amnesty Program na jinsi utakavyoweza kusamehewa adhabu na riba na KRA. Pia tutakuwa tunakusaidia kujaza fomu za kodi za mwaka 2024 na kukusaidia na huduma za KRA kwa mtaa wako. Jumatano tarehe 7 mwezi Mei tutakuwa maeneo ya Thika Road, TRM, Mombasa Road, Pipeline, Bahati, Kariobangi, Buruburu Shopping Center, Fedha, Kayole, Dandora, Mwiki, Kasarani, tumalizie Roysambu. Kisha Alhamisi tarehe 8 mwezi Mei tutazuru maeneo ya Westlands, Kangemi, Uthiru, Kinoo, Dagoretti, Satellite, Kibra, Ngong Road, Nairobi West, Karen, Ngong na hatimaye Rongai. KRA, tulipe ushuru, tujitegemee.
Right now, quickly.
Pick up your phone, Biggie.
No one tells me what to do.
Nana amenigonga? Who's hit? Hey! Out of my house.
I'll say this again and again. Tina, sit down and talk to your husband. Talking to your mother here is not a solution. She's got problems of her own.
I am not stupid. I've done this kind of monkey business before. So I know my kind. 4 hours, Biggie. 4 hours. Thank you for the cup of tea, by the way.
At least everyone knows I do business. I keep wondering, what are his dealings?
Kuna shida.
Why will he respond to your WhatsApp messages and not our calls?
Sijamuona.
Ah?
Sijamuona, madam. Hello. Who's this?
Hii ndio ile location nimepokea. Hii kibuyu inakaa ile ilitumiwa na kina Deta nikimato kupigania independence. Hiyo unafaa ushika.
Nisamee tu tafadhali.
Hebu songa. Nakwambia ukijaribu kuleta indo. Na nanda kuambia maafisa hii.
Sema sonde. It is a taboo for an African woman to be on top ya roof.
Hakuna mchezo sasa. Sisi huku sasa kama
wewe.
Kuja nikubebe.
Nini?
Unafanya mrobo madharau. Makosa.
Hii ni XP. Hii ni shika yeye.
Kenya's real estate market is evolving, with over 77% of rental properties being flats and apartments and an impressive 88.8% occupancy rate. The demand for housing has never been higher. But what's driving these trends, and how do regional disparities shape rental prices and investment opportunities?
I think a lot has brought growth into the Kenyan real estate sector over the past few years. I think there's been steady growth since 2016. 2016 was, I think, the year when there was the best performance in the real estate sector. A lot of this has been brought by infrastructural development. The government has been willing to spend on roads and power and water. These things, of course, make it for a very suitable market for real estate to grow as well, because it's very hard to come up with something where there's no access to it. You see, the Kenyan market is designed in such a way that the Chinese are here, the Turkish are here, they're developing, European countries are here. I think some of our infrastructural projects are even funded by Spain. So the ease of accessing the Kenyan market, even Arab markets are here, and also the ease of finance that has been there for quite some while.
According to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics Real Estate Survey of 2023-2024, flats and apartments now dominate Kenya's rental market, making up 77.1% of all properties. In Nairobi, this trend is even more pronounced, with 66.7% of all rentals being apartments. But why?
I think it's because of the demographics of the Kenyan population. The census that was done most recently showed that most of us are youth. Even here, most of us are the youth. So we have our families, they are growing. So you want to bring up your family in a comfortable unit. The most comfortable unit for that is a 3-bedroom, because it allows you to have the master bedroom, it allows you to have the kids' bedroom and a spare bedroom, maybe for visitors, the house manager, and everyone else. I think also the growth of the 3-bedroom units, has been around the suburbs, where we are having master planned estates coming up. So with that master planning, when you do a survey, before as a developer, when you do a survey and you see where there is a gap, then you see there's a gap in the 3-bedroom where you want to cater for a family. And you'll see that also for a family, when I'm buying a unit for my family, I'm willing to also get a mortgage for it. So with the growth of the KMRC sector, the Kenya Mortgage Institution, and the circles giving these mortgage loans, then it's a sweet blend where the 3-bedroom is very affordable and marketable and also very attractive, because we are a young population. We want something we can have our family growing comfortably, and there is finance that you can access for that.
Despite high rental costs, demand remains strong. For instance, in 2023, 88.8% of rental properties were leased, a clear indicator of Kenya's housing shortage.
I think it's a broad issue. First of all, I would start with the way the market started. A lot of what is done in the residential market is off-plan sales, and there's been a lot of fraudulent activities. So people are hesitant to invest before you see the unit, yeah? So you'll hold your breath, you'll see there's maybe a development coming somewhere, then you'll tell yourself, let me come next month to see whether they've grown and to see whether they've delivered. I can also say that because of the impact 2024 has had on our pockets as Kenyans, I know there was a report done that said that Kenyans are...
All rentals cost the same. A 1-bedroom bungalow rents for as low as 15,000 shillings, while a 4-bedroom bungalow can go as high as 170,000 shillings. Townhouses in particular attract premium prices of up to 120,000 for a 2-bedroom unit.
For the buyer, it's more than just the unit. So even though they are buying it for investment and not even to live in, they will then check, where is this I'm buying? Let's say if I'm a buyer and I want to buy a unit for an year, it's a good opportunity for growth, either as a developer or an investor. And I think it's something that even the young people should be willing to pick up. You can start as small as with a studio. So it's something that I think it's a sector that's growing, and be a company and be a developer yourself.
From high-rise apartments to luxurious townhouses, Kenya's rental landscape continues to evolve. for tenants, landlords, and investors. Understanding these changes is the key to making informed decisions in an ever-growing market.
It is now time for Family Check, and this morning we are asking you, when you are in a relationship, is it compulsory for you to be conversing with your person, chatting every other time? Is it compulsory for you to be talking every single day? That is the topic we are having today. And remember, our lines should be open within no time, and you're open to send your messages. That is 0716 103 302. 0716 103 302. Allow me to introduce my panelists for this conversation. And actress, welcome to the program. All right, and right next to Nelly, we have Engineer Ruben Juma Onunga, and he is the team leader, COWI Kenya. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And then, day when you're in a relationship and you don't live together.
Very compulsory, very important. You must keep updating me. I must know you still love me, you care for me. If I'm part of you, tell me what you're doing.
Yeah.
How is the progress? How is the day? You can't be too busy if you love me. Create some time.
I love that. So every single day we need to talk. Every single minute. All right.
So again, if you are too much attached and it ends up into a breakup, so again, if you are too much attached and it ends up into a breakup, you might be in trouble. Yeah.
So it's a yes or no?
Yes and a no. So
Yes
it needs to be balanced.
Yeah.
Thank you.
On each other in the morning, good morning, how are you, have a good day. You know, lunchtime, umekula, that kind of conversation in the evening. But I'm not in a texting someone, I'm working, I'm a mother. Yeah, it's not even possible for me. So I do not require it from the man as well.
Yeah, so for you it's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal.
If you go for a day without hearing from them.
Yeah, it's okay, we can speak in the evening.
No, we're talking about every day.
It's okay, we can speak the next day.
You're still
as long as you're still together, I'll confirm.
Yeah, you don't need...
There are processes of involvement in social activities, communication. You are learning each other. We have the process of dating, which then also goes into courtship and then marriage. So this is a...
Doing it. You must have a purpose for everything you're doing. At the end of the day, why are we dating? Are we passing time? Because for me, I believe you're dating to get married, not just passing time in that relationship. It's a period where you should be able to know who is Veronica, who is Juma. You need to understand, what do I love, what did I love? Not every time we'll be closer to each other. When I wake up in the morning, am I responsible enough to greet my partner, to check up on them, to update them, to tell them today I'm going to KBC? Just show some respect that we are together in this thing. If you love me, you create some small time for me anytime to update me. I'm not going for lunch. No. Okay, I understand Nelly, probably in that age, but we're in different era now. We're always on WhatsApp, on Facebook. I can see you blue-ticking me.
Online.
So why are you blue-ticking me? I'm able to see you are online. What are you busy doing? Even when I'm doing reports as an accountant, I'm able to see my hubby is texting me and say, yeah, darling, I've seen you. I hope you're having a good day. And continue with my reports. Just show some love and concern for someone. You feel appreciated. It's a love language.
So do you feel, for you, Nelly, it doesn't equate to love? Someone being in constant communication does not equate to love.
So let me put this across. My demands as a woman has changed. Like what I wanted or what I required as a teenager or in my early 20s is different to what I require now in my 30s. When I was like a teenager in my early 20s, I would want to constantly be in communication with someone, you know. I want reassurance, I want to talk to, I want to know you. you know. But now, with the work, with now new responsibilities, I do not think it's an actual requirement. I feel like you can lose a good man because he's not in constant communication with you. What if he's a truck driver? What if he's an Uber guy? You want him to constantly be on his phone talking to you, and it's not possible. As long as he's tried his best, he's woke up in the morning, he's thought of you, he's called you, you know, everything is fine. You know, have a good day. So during lunchtime, maybe he's having his break, he's called you, he's texted you, it's okay. And in the evening, at least, you know, kama dawa asubuhi mchana jioni.
That's exactly what we're saying, David. That's exactly what we're saying.
But not constant, like you want like in every 10, you know, it's giving insecurities.
So I want to hear from the man. Is it sustainable from the man's perspective? Because most times you get that it's the ladies who complain that, oh, my man is not good with communication. You know, you can go for a whole day without talking to me, and that means something to me, you know, the constant communication. So is it sustainable? Just to get to hear from you as a man.
Yeah.